Hello everyone. In this video we're going to be talking about Dubin-Johnson syndrome. So without further ado, let's start. So what is this condition? So it is an autosomal recessive condition which is characterized by an increase of serum conjugated bilirubin. So this is an important point that conjugated bilirubin is increased in the serum and not unconjugated bilirubin. We'll see why. And it is similar to Rotor syndrome. I'm going to make a video on Rotor syndrome also. Maybe by the time that you're watching this, I have already uploaded it. So check it out on my channel. Now, what are the causes of this syndrome? So there is a genetic defect seen in the ABCC2 gene. This leads to a defect in a protein called MRP2 or multi-drug resistance protein 2. Now let's study about this protein in a little more detail. So what is the normal location and function of this? So it is located in the apical membrane of the hepatocytes, and it is responsible for excreting the conjugated bilirubin from the hepatocytes into the bile. And this is not working in Dubin-Johnson syndrome. Let's try to understand this with an interesting animation. So you must be knowing that normally unconjugated bilirubin comes from the blood into the hepatocytes. Majority of the unconjugated bilirubin comes from the breakdown of RBCs. Now, this unconjugated bilirubin is converted into conjugated bilirubin with the help of an enzyme called as UDP glucuronosyl transferase or UDP-GT for short. Now, here is the important channel that we were talking about, which is MRP2. So normally its function is to transport the conjugated bilirubin into the bile from the hepatocytes. But let's see what happens in this syndrome. So because of the genetic defect, the MRP2 is not working, and because of this, the conjugated bilirubin does not go into the bile and starts accumulating in the hepatocytes. And this is going to cause the clinical features that we're going to see right now. So jaundice symptoms are going to be seen mostly after a stressful event like pregnancy, intake of certain drugs like OCPs, and also conjugated bilirubinemia. What does this mean? This means conjugated bilirubin in the blood. Now, how did it come in the blood? Now, because the conjugated bilirubin is not able to pass through, it will start building up inside the hepatocytes and start backing up. Slowly, a lot of conjugated bilirubin is going to get accumulated and is going to leak in the blood. So that's the reason for conjugated bilirubinemia, and this conjugated bilirubin is going to lead to the dark color of the urine. So this is another very important clinical feature. Now, how are you going to diagnose this condition? So we can do the liver tests. What are we going to see here? We're going to see serum conjugated bilirubin will be increased. This is pretty obvious. SGOT and SGPT are going to be normal. Why is this? Because normally these enzymes are increased when there is a hepatic injury, like seen in alcoholic cirrhosis or viral hepatitis, conditions like that. But here, as such, there is no hepatic injury, so these will be normal. SAP or serum alkaline phosphatase will also be normal. Why? Because this is increased when there is an obstructive cause of jaundice, like a stone or a tumor pressing the bile ducts. But here that is not seen, so it is normal. And the best investigation to diagnose this condition is bromsulfaline test. Now let's see what this test is exactly. So it works on the same principle, which is that you will give a dye, and in normal cases, this dye will be able to pass through the MRP2 channel. But in Dubin-Johnson syndrome, since it is not working, the dye will actually regurgitate back into the blood. Now we can also check the porphyrin values. What will we see in this is that the total levels will be normal, but a very important distinction. In normal cases, the coproporphyrin 3 will be more than 1, but in Dubin-Johnson syndrome, this ratio will be reversed. Now we can also do oral cholecystography. Here the gallbladder will not be visualized. Let's try to understand this a bit more. So we'll zoom into this part and see what's going on. So this is a gallbladder and the bile ducts. So normally what happens is that whenever you give a dye, the dye will be able to pass through the bile ducts into the gallbladder and go everywhere freely. If the dye is able to go inside the gallbladder will be visualized. But in Dubin-Johnson syndrome, if we give the dye, it will not be able to come anywhere, and so the gallbladder will not be visualized. Finally, if we will look at the liver, it will be black in color. So you can see in this picture, it is very black. And Dubin-Johnson syndrome is one of the very few conditions where this is seen. A question can be asked, why is the black color of the liver seen here? So it is seen due to epinephrine metabolites being accumulated. Pay attention that it is not the conjugated bilirubin which is giving the black color to this liver. So that's it for this video. If you have any doubts, so please leave them in the comments, or you can message me on Instagram anytime. I will be leaving the link to my Instagram in the description. Thank you.